Hi there, welcome to Lemony Fizz Papercraft channel. I'm excited about this one. It's going to be a fun one to make, and it's going to be a fun one to give. We've always given our kids sweethearts candies for Valentine's when they were younger, and it's kind of a tradition we've kept when they're older, but I think they're going to like this one even more because of what's inside. So the first thing we're going to do is pick the piece we want to work on first. I think we'll start with the outside of the box, and then we'll move to the inside box, and that'll clear up some of these things that are in our way. Okay, let's get started. Okay, for the outside of the box, you're going to need obviously the outside box template or box that's been cut out of cardstock. I've already folded along my score lines so that they're set and ready to go. There should be this white frame piece. If you've got acetate, great, that kind of just adds to the look of the box. If not, don't worry about it. You should have sweethearts cut out and these red panels, all these little hearts, which I'll probably do off camera just to save us some time and tediousness. And then this was the inside of this heart. We're going to glue it to the back so that we can say to, from, or just someone's name nicely written. Note, if you are struggling to get this cut out, you're probably like me and you're being stubborn, you need to change your Cricut blade, okay? It cuts beautifully with a sharp blade. So I'm gonna tell you, I probably did that 3 or 4 times before, and the whole time I was thinking I need to change my blade, but I didn't because I was being stubborn, and then I finally did just to compare, and voila. So yeah, I don't know if you need to hear this, but you probably do. Change your Cricut blade. Okay, we are going to move on to assembling. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually glue this on here to the front so that it's drying and we can move it out of the way. Actually, let's wait on that just so we don't bump it. Let's do the panels because they're going to be a little less temperamental on us, and I'm going to leave those there for just a second. So let's start with this part, and I'm just going to bring it down a little bit from the top edge here, and I'm going to do all this while the box is still flat just because it's kind of easier to press and get our glue to stick. So go ahead and add some glue, or if you're using double-sided tape or whatever your adhesive of choice, this is where you start using it. I'm probably, I can't decide if I'm going to use glue yet on the panels or if I'll use like the double-sided tape. Being indecisive. I like this stuff, but it would, I don't know, maybe just on this panel it'll be easier to attach, and these ones we'll see when we get there. Okay, the sweethearts, it's going to look like it doesn't fit because it kind of stretches out when it gets cut, but you're just going to kind of press it in so that it fits between those 2 lines. Okay, a couple dabs of glue on the back. If you have a Xyron sticker maker, which I'm going to say that and then I'm not going to use mine, this would be a great place to use it. I just didn't dig mine out. Those little tiny parts, I can't remember what they're called, on the centers of letters, I always forget that, but those parts may be a little bit of a pain with the Xyron and this, trying to get the adhesive back out of there. But okay, so as I'm pressing this down, I'm making sure it's straight, and I'm kind of recompressing it back together so that it's not so spread out, and that's what's going to make it fit right across there. Okay, that part should be done, and then you have 2 panels, the hearts and this one. This is going to be the back panel, so I'm gonna glue here. There should be a little bit of a border around each one. It's just more for strength and then to break up the color of the pink. The old-fashioned Sweetheart boxes actually had some red around them, so that's, or like red border. Some of them were red boxes with the actual like cutie pie or whatever of the conversation heart kind of popping out at you in the, it wasn't popping out at you, but it was the way the box was designed. Okay, I'm going to carefully dump these right here so that they're not getting lost on the page. Put some glue on this one. I can't even tell you how excited I am about this one. It's just so darn fun. Okay, so now that those are done, there should be, I'm going to put this on just so I don't accidentally put one of those little hearts in the way. So I'm just going to run some glue around the edge of this heart. And stick my acetate down. So I had a whole sheet of Cricut acetate and I left it in my camper in Idaho, and we are now in Maine, so it's not like I'm just gonna run home and grab it. And I had to go, so I walked to Hobby Lobby to get some more, and they didn't have any, and I didn't bother to call and check before I walked to Hobby Lobby. I just took off walking. So I was a little disappointed for a second after I asked for help and couldn't find any acetate. They had some cupcake boxes for like $3.99. They were cupcake display boxes, and I bought those and then just cannibalized it. I cut it apart and took the acetate off the front. It's not super thick, but it definitely does the trick. And I also used it for the chocolate box, like the one that the chocolate card box. That's what I used for the front of that one too. Got glue everywhere. Okay, so there's the front of that. Now I'm just gonna do a couple different hearts on the front with these little ones, and then I will meet you back here. All right, so I have all the little hearts glued on there. There's enough for like 3 in each corner up here and 4 in each corner down there. Everything's all nice and stuck. Our acetate is nice, a little window now. We are ready to assemble this box. So I'm going to, I decided to go for it. I'm going to run some of this tape along the edge, just because I think it's going to be the best way to hold it while I'm working on this. I need to grab the scissors. Hold on. Okay, so this cuts really well with just like an X-Acto knife. Your scissors, sometimes you can tear it, depends on how accurate you're trying to be. Like that one's gonna have a little bit of a gap there. I'm not too worried about that. It's got some fuzz. These have been floating around in my bag, so they've got some fun stuff stuck to the sides. So usually you can run the 1/2 inch one, which is that larger one, and then a 1/4 inch strip, depending. Most things seem to work out to be that size, or you can double up on this one, however that works for you. You just put it on there, kind of rub it down good, and then pull up on the edge. These ones, the covering or whatever, pull off like a dream. I have another one that I sit and struggle with it forever. So I'm going to, you kind of don't want to touch it there until you're right where you want to be, because it is sticky. So line up an edge, and then that front edge. Okay. I feel like I might have missed that one, but it's too late now. Okay. So there's that part of the box. We did pretty good. I think it's actually just the tape that's kind of rolling over there. I might be able to do something to cover that later. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of fold it back and forth just to get my box to stand. And then this part, we're not actually gonna glue unless you want to, just to like add some strength, but it tucks in pretty nicely and holds itself there. So I don't know if you even need to glue. And then the top obviously folds, and that's our front with this little pull tab thing here. So you'll notice, and I probably just messed myself up. Nope, I didn't. Okay. I was thinking about the other one. We're going to put like a panel inside to hold the money so it doesn't sink down too low, but that's the other part. Okay, so this box is pretty much done, right? We got that on the back. Yep, done. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside, and then we will work on the inside box. Get all these supplies together and then we'll get going. So you're going to need the inside template. This is what's going to hold that money roll kind of up higher. I contemplated this and I thought, well, you could just put the money in there and start pulling it out, but I could see it getting unrolled in there and either like wanting to shove itself out or not pulling out as smoothly. So we're going to put this inside the box so that it holds that money up in like a little square section up there. So that's just kind of a shelf. And then this is going to be your pole that we're going to put the hearts on. So you can go ahead and fold those score lines. And then I used, I can't remember if this is photo something. I'll put it down in the notes, but it's just one of the newer Valentine's collections that I found online. And then all of our hearts. So I'm going to actually pause for a minute to take time to glue all these together, because there's a lot of them and you're just offsetting them like this to make them three-dimensional. So you can either offset them with your 3-dimension at the top or your 3-dimension down on this lower edge, depending on how you like it best. And then you get yours done while I get mine done, and we'll meet back here. All right, so hopefully now you have all your hearts put together. If not, you can do that on your time and then come back. There are 2 that I saved to do with you, and that would be this I Love You one, which is basically the dark pink background, your purple that goes behind the letters there to make them pop, and then, or make them look like they're stamped on there, and then we'll stick those together. I had a thought and I just lost it. Oh, I think the last time in the other, like if you do the cat file, we actually pop dotted for a little bit of dimension with this one. But we are not going to be pop dotting these just because they've got to be able to fit inside the box. And this one, oh, and then the other thing I was going to say is I varied which direction I made my 3D-ness so that it'll look like they're all kind of like tossing and turning and whatnot inside the box. Like you want them to look like they're kind of all mixed up in there. This one is going to be a little bit more difficult because you got that center of the P, and it's going to be, if you haven't lost it already, which I'm surprised I have not, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to try to get it lined up in there. So we're going to see what we can do with that. For all my pull there, all of my 3D-ness is over on that left side. So I'm going to kind of offset it there to the left, just like those ones. And then see if I can get this little tiny inside part of the letter in there without a ton of glue and without a ton of a mess. So far, I had tweezers that were kind of sticky earlier, but I have to get it on my finger. Maybe. Okay. Not very easy. And it might be something you don't even want to mess with, but I'm going to give it a college try here. I'll just use that to scooch. Okay, hopefully you didn't get my head in there too often. I was trying to get closer so I could see. Okay, so sometimes if your letter's a little larger, you can place it inside where it's supposed to be, and then that'll help you line up that inside. But with this one, it was a fight. It was a battle anyway, so we managed. Okay, so you don't need that inside P anymore, and we're pretty close. Okay, so there's our tab. We are ready to assemble. Okay, there are probably going to be some extra conversation hearts too. I just threw a handful in there, 2 different sizes, just to see what would look best through the window. I figure we'll just kind of decorate the front of it and then see just how well it goes. Okay, So let's see. Let's start with putting this in there. We need to make sure we fold along those score lines too. Finding our shelf space first, and then hopefully you've already got your box kind of folded on your score lines. When we close it, we want it to be about right there. So I'm going to glue one side of it right now, right there, about, I don't know, an inch, inch and a quarter down. It does not have to be precise. We're not fitting anything like specific in there. It's just to kind of keep the roll of that money a little bit tighter. And you just want to make sure you're lined up with this edge and not past it, because that is going to be a fold, and not past your crease line here either. It looks like it should work pretty well. Okay, so then while we've got this flat, that can just stay there and dry for a second, we are going to put on our pattern paper. So I'm going to move some hearts out of the way. Go back to this for just a second, just so we can take a picture of that. And then, okay. So your pattern papers, again, this is just one that I purchased this winter from one of the newer Valentine collections. I want to say it's Cartabella, but I'm not entirely sure. It's either that or I can't remember the other one. I looked at some photo play and I can't remember what else I looked at, so I will link it in the bottom. I know one of them was already sold out. This is the same one I think I did on the mailbox, and it wasn't very long and it was sold out. It's entirely possible they've got it back in stock though. Okay, so the slit right here is actually the top of the box. That's where the money's gonna come out when we pull. Okay. And we're gonna wanna leave one side so that it opens. I'm trying to think. Yeah, this one. Maybe we should put a tab on that so that it's, think about that for a second. We might need a tab on this edge so that it can just tuck in, and that way you can reuse it, or they can put it back in. I'm not sure if they're gonna wanna reuse it, but it might be cute. Just in case. Okay, panels. If that's the case, I'll just make sure I change the file for you, and I will glue a tab onto mine just so that we can see it finalized. And I'm just kind of eyeballing to make sure that those are at about the same level. Same with this one, just kind of parallel. This is your bottom panel, and then that is obviously over the slit right there. And if you wanted to be using your double-sided tape here, you could. I'm just going to use the glue because it's so much faster for me. Okay. So there's the box. Other than the top flap, I'm just going to make sure I get a nice kind of line right there along the edge of that opening, so it's not like catching on anything, and then the corners obviously. Just a good layer of it. And then you should just be able to line those two openings up. I'm off a little. Gotta slide to the right. I think should be about right there. That one should just fit right in the square. Like, you shouldn't have any gap between your fold and your paper. Sketch that just a little more. Okay. Good. Now the fun part. Okay, so we have to determine which is going to be the front and which is going to be the back, because that's where we're going to put our conversation hearts. And then we need to kind of figure out about how far down this, so the box is going to sit at the bottom of this box, so we can line that up right there, which means our heart is going to be about right here. So this is like your most visual area right here, right? So this is where you want most of your conversation hearts, and you're going to probably dead center your I love you right in there somewhere. Okay, so put your pull ones aside so you don't accidentally use them. And I'm going to start, I think I'm just going to cover the whole box with just a little bit more of a focus of them down here, because we've got the hearts, so why not? And then that way when it comes out, if they take it out of this one, it'll be all cute and decorated too. Start with the big ones and just start kind of piling them. I think I want this one like sideways. Remember, this is more of your focal area right in here. So kind of try to find a balance between your hearts, like in the whole space, but with a little bit more centered in that focal area, if that makes sense. Like you want it to be aesthetically pleasing when it comes out of the box, but you still want to be able to look like it's just piled full of hearts right here. It's going to be a fine balance. I think I might just only have a few floating. Kind of stack them on each other. I feel like we probably could have used another color, maybe like pink or something. Maybe I'll, not to overwhelm you with hearts, but maybe I'll throw a few more in there. And we got enough pink on the box. Okay, and then we want this one to be the focal point. And he is already pink. So maybe like right, kind of balancing on that blue. I think I'm gonna go, I'm just gonna go straight up and down. Alrighty, so there's that. And now we are ready to do the pole and then attach our money and wind it up and put it in this box. So let's attach these first. This is gonna get glued, or not glued, but like taped onto your money. Obviously you don't want to glue to the money because you want it to come off again later. But we're gonna put these here so that they know to pull on that. Probably something like this. Yeah. So you're gonna just kind of line them up on there. And we want to be able to set these aside so they've got a few minutes to dry too. I think we can probably just run. I want to be able to tuck that L underneath there. So it's going to need a little bit of glue on the U. And I think I'm going to tuck this one underneath that one, right to the edge like that. So a little there, right there. Okay. Hopefully that, I'm a little off balance with the P. I think I'm gonna have to pull them all over. Hopefully you didn't completely copy me on that. If you did, reverse. We gotta line up with the edges of that just a little bit because of the inside of the box. Because it's gotta fit in this one. So as long as you're inside that space, you should be good. I'm just gonna scooch mine over just a tad. Hopefully. I think I got it. I might have to do this one different. Didn't think about that, just got all excited about putting it on there. Okay, I'm gonna twist it just a little. Because I I got some extra paper there to cover up and I need to squeeze it in. Okay, so remember you got to stay within the edges of the box, so don't go too far out of your white there. Okay, so now we are ready to roll some money and finalize that box. So if you don't have your money yet and ready, go grab it and then we will get to wrapping. Okay, hopefully you have all your money wrapped or ready to go. You're gonna wanna tape it like end to end to end. The easiest way to do that is with Scotch tape, like either a double-sided Scotch tape or just tape it on the back side where you can't see it with Scotch. I don't have any tape, so I use this, and you can just cross your fingers for me that I can get it back off again later. Okay, so you're gonna want to put the denomination or the one that you want to come out first on the end of your roll so that it's the last part to wrap. So I'm gonna go back to this end where my last part is gonna be, and I'm gonna start wrapping it. And you can either wrap it around like one of your Cricut tools if it'll stay nice and tight for you, or a pen, like whatever works. The nice thing about a pen is you've got this part here to tuck it under. So if you've got to put it down for a minute or come back to it, or we're gonna work on this box, it'll already be done and ready for us, waiting, and it's not going to unravel while we're doing that. So I'm just going to go ahead and start wrapping it around the barrel of this pen, and you just wrap until you meet the end. Okay, it's kind of fun to add 1s and 5s mixed in with 10s and 20s, I mean depending on how much you're going to give them, right? That way it's like a longer chain with that, and it adds up obviously, because a couple 5s here and there and a couple 10s and then mixed in with some 20s or whatever you want to mix in, it's all going to add up and they're going to be excited about all of it. But kind of start out with some 1s, or like put it out of order so that they're guessing and having to keep count, and it's just kind of more fun to pull it out that way. Okay, so I've got mine wrapped. I'm going to tuck it underneath the pen part there, which is actually going to kind of hold it for me when I get to this next part, which is putting on the pull tab. Okay, so I've already put tape on mine ready to go. Pull that off. And then you're just gonna tape the tab to the dollar, kind of centering it as best you can. This part doesn't necessarily have to go down inside the box, like we don't want it to fall down inside the box. So it's more of a tight fit to get it in. You want this dollar to be able to come out. So as non-Cricut as possible. Mine's a little off-centered, not a big deal. Okay, so I'm gonna set that aside. Now we're gonna work on doing this part, okay? So we need to make sure this gets attached to that side, and our box makes a box. So I'm probably gonna do, trying to think what the easiest is. We're not gonna be able to attach that and then put our money in. So we need to have a flap on there. Okay, I'm gonna make a flap. Yours is already gonna have a flap, so just disregard this part for a second and we'll move on. Okay, I made a few modifications to the file and to the inside of this box. Our shelf is now gonna go attached to the front and the back so that we can actually tuck one of these flaps in, right, and not have it, and that way we can get our money roll in there tucked through this thing, but it's still not going to have all that space in there to unravel. Okay, so I will make note of that back further in the video so that you don't get confused and try to attach your thing on the side here where it was before. You can see where I just removed mine. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and close this box up. And we're not going to be, I mean, you could put extra stuff down in there, but I don't think we're going to need to. And I think we're going to glue this just so it's nice and sturdy and it goes in and out of this box really well. Like it's not going to have any hanging edges that open up and get caught, because this side is still going to open. So you could tuck something here if you wanted to, and then have the mini roll still on the top. So these are the sides that are going to get the glue. And then I've also gone ahead and pre-taped this edge here, or you can, it's going to be a little awkward, so you're probably going to want to glue that first, and I'm going to do the same without trying to get the glue all over the place now. Okay, so I'm going to pull this tape. You're going to want to run a glue line or put your tape right there, and then we're gonna go ahead and put this the direction it would be if we were to like have it all closed up and done. So this right here should be nice and parallel, and your shelf should be parallel, and unfortunately it's kind of hard for me to do on video, but see how I just did that so that it makes a nice little rectangle down in there. And then go ahead and press that across. If you glued, wait for it to dry, because you're going to be messing with the box and you don't want it to be popping off and making a big old mess in there. Okay, and then I did put glue on my flaps, so I'm going to go ahead and press those down now. And while I'm doing this, I'm noticing I'm going to modify the file again, and we're going to put a flap on that just to glue it in and make it easier for you to manipulate. So there'll be a flap right here too. The Grinch keeps going through my head. Airbag's a little slow, but that's why we do these tests, right? That's why I put these all together before I actually put them in my shop, so that we know if it's gonna work for you or not. Okay, so I'm happy with that. And this is gonna be our opening and closing side, so now we just need to run a bead of glue. Those just came undone. Run a bead of glue right here too. I'm actually gonna run a strip of this so that it's easier for me to press, and it'll actually like be ready for me to move on faster. I don't have to wait for the glue to dry. I can get to pressing those corner tabs faster. Okay. So you should have, and if you've got something long, once you've got the box kind of made, if you did use glue or just anything that you used, you're going to want to kind of press down in there just so things are nice and snug, firmly compressed and meeting in all the places that they should be. Just kind of smooth stuff down. And then this edge, obviously, that we just did. And then you're going to have a glue edge along that back edge right there too to press. Mine doesn't, because obviously I need to modify that file. And you can see my shelf went a little crickety. Not a big deal. It's still going to hold the money just fine. Okay, and I did modify and add this flap, so it is, I have to modify that too. It's gonna get in the way of, actually it didn't. I was thinking it was gonna hit that shelf. But I might have to I'm gonna make that shelf just a little smaller so it's not in your way when you close up that flap. Okay, so you should have a nice compact little box. I got something going on right there. Needs more glue. Where you're ready to put the money in there, I'm gonna let this sit for just a second, and then we will come back to putting the money in. Okay, your glue should be nice and dry. We are ready to stuff some money in there. So we are going to carefully pull this off the pin and kind of keep it in its roll as best we can. Okay, and then you're gonna just kind of work it into the box and kind of pull those hearts through the slit as best you can. And you might have to kind of squeeze a little. Okay. I'm not sure if there's an easier way to do that. Maybe angle it, or you could maybe put the roll through and then put the pull tab on. That's probably the easiest way to do it. I got a little excited and wanted to just see that pull tab on there. Okay, so now you should have a roll of money in there. See how it just started to unravel on us? That's why we put that shelf in there. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and fold up those flaps, and then I am going to, do I need to? No, I think I'm good. Just close that up. And you should have a nice cute little box with the little pull tab on the top ready to go. And then this is going to slip down inside there. So let's go ahead and take a look at those two together. Those should be your two pieces, right? Ready to go. And then move that out of the way for a sec. And then we're gonna go ahead and slip this down inside there. So it's kind of a sweetheart box inside of a sweetheart box. You might get caught a little bit on your hearts on that front, so just kind of watch your edge depending on how much like extra space you've got there. And then just tuck your little pull in there so it's down inside the box and it's just a little row of conversation hearts, and close it up. Okay, so my I love you's a little bit high on there. It's okay though, it could come down, or you could put a few more different conversations in there so that they could read them. I would personally just write on the hearts just because it's probably a little easier. But there we have it. Nice cute little conversation heart box, money box, ready for all that goodness to be pulled right out of there. Okay, enjoy. If you enjoyed this video and this craft, please hit like, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. If you have any questions or you need clarification on anything, leave a comment for that too. I'm happy to help. Thanks for watching.